I'm Claire with What Three Words, and I wanted to actually start with a little story about China, which is where I was last week. So I was in China last week in Shanghai, waiting for a Didi, which is like Uber, and it was raining, and I'm a millennial, so I was taking a selfie in the rain, and it meant I had my camera out, and so I could document what happened next. And what happened next was that this guy who was delivering food to this office showed up. He looked very excited to see us waiting there. He thought he was delivering to us. He was not. He went into the lobby. 2 minutes later, he came back out because he'd gone to the wrong place. So he had to get back on his bike, put his hood on, put his raincoat back over his helmet, and get back on the bike and ride away. 1 minute later, a guy came out looking for his food and ended up quite shortly running after him to try and find his food. Now, this is not an unusual story. How many times have you seen lost delivery drivers? I live in London. Lost delivery drivers are a fact of life. But the interesting thing is that this was in China. China is so far ahead on technology in so many ways. If you go and buy street food from an old lady in China and you try and pay with cash, she will look at you like you're crazy and say, no, WeChat. So this is a country that is so far ahead on tech, and yet people are still getting lost. That's interesting. Why is that? And it's not just China. So a few weeks ago, I went to a wedding. One of my very dear friends, beautiful venue, you can see. This was a piece of paper I got with the wedding invitation. It's literally its own piece of paper just to explain how to get there. The first line of this says, please note, sat-nav will take you the wrong way. And the rest of it is a description of how you should get there. A few months ago, I stayed in a treehouse that I found on Airbnb. And you know what I did? I got lost because tree houses don't have postal addresses. Very hard to find the small wooden sign they said was going to be there. And it's not just me. I'm not the problem here. It's addresses. So this example was in The Guardian recently. This poor old guy was trying to drive to Rome, and he did a typo. He missed off the E and drove to Rom. Very, very different place. Very confused old man who was looking for his grandchildren. If you go to the US, if anyone's ever been to Atlanta, and somebody said to them, we're on 97 Peachtree Road, good luck. There are 71 Peachtree roads and streets in Atlanta. So addresses can be frustrating, and they are even more frustrating when we think about voice. So when you think about voice, addresses just break down. We're trying to create hands-free experiences. We're trying to take the screen away and get people to drive their car, keep their hands on the wheel, and talk to their car. We're trying to get people to order an Uber using Alexa. But you know what? Addresses just don't work. Now, I'm a total voice addict. I use my Alexa all the time. I use my Google Home all the time. And this tweet makes me laugh. Alexa, can you turn the porch lights on, please? Alexa replies, you don't have a Porsche, so I've turned on the duster lights instead. This makes us smile because we are used to this problem. We speak to our devices, and they do not do what we expect. Now, with addresses, that's not even really the fault of the voice recognition devices. This is the fault of the address. So one example of this in the US. How would you differentiate between 24 First Street and 241st Street and 241st Street? You say them identically. How is your device going to know what you've made, what mistake you've made there? And that even assumes you know how to say something. If you are from the UK, you will know you say this Worcestershire. If you're not from the UK, I would forgive you for having no idea how to pronounce this. So if you're doing voice recognition and speech recognition in cars, should you be programming in the correct pronunciation, but also all the incorrect pronunciations, just in case it's a tourist or someone who's not local? What about someone with an accent? Very, very complicated to use addresses and voice. So we basically decided it's time for something new. So we wanted to create a universal addressing standard, something that is highly accurate. So I can specify the particular entrance to this building at the Messe, particular entrance to Hall 5. I can specify the spot on the beach for my yoga class, and it should be the same in every country in the world. So if I go to Japan on holiday, I can use the same system and not get lost. And it should be built for voice. So universal, accurate, and built for voice. Now, there is a global addressing system, and it looks like this. GPS coordinates. Universal, absolutely accurate, not so much built for voice. Nobody is saying to me, hi, Claire, I'm having a dinner party. See you at 25 degrees, 9 minutes, 40.918, etc. So we wanted to take this and make it human-friendly. So we took the power of GPS and made it work for human beings. So what we did is we divided the entire world into a grid. this is a grid of 57 trillion squares. Each square is 3 meters by 3 meters, and every single square has been labeled with an address made of 3 dictionary words. 3 words from the dictionary. So if I say to you, meet me at Thread Strollers Bumble, that is that 3 meter by 3 meter square in Germany. That is it. There are 57 trillion of these, and they are all unique. So this parking space here is Spicy Float Monday. This parking space here is Pirate Gather Daisy. Everywhere in the world has one of these, and they're unique. Now, behind the scenes, this is just a GPS coordinate. The machine that you're using it with is going to read it as a GPS coordinate, but it's the human way to input that coordinate. And we haven't just done this in English. We've done this in 37 languages. So if you speak Hindi or Arabic or German, you can use what 3 words in your own language, which means when I go on holiday to Japan, I can indeed use English 3-word addresses. If a Japanese person comes on holiday to London, they can use Japanese 3-word addresses. So this is actually what it looks like in a head unit in Chinese. This is we launched Chinese a few months ago. 3-word addresses in Chinese look like that. Now, this is just like a normal address. You can type it in, you can speak it in, and you can even, these days, more and more do things like this, which there are companies like MyScript where you can literally write with your handwriting. You can write on the screen and put in a 3-word address. So however you're putting it into your car, this is a destination, and you give 3 words, and you will end up in the right place. But a lot of this is about voice, and this is actually what it looks like for voice. Mercedes have put this in their cars. They were the first car company to do this last year. Others have followed. At the show now, if you go to any of the Mercedes cars on their stand, you'll be able to try this out, and this is what it looks like. Hey, Mercedes.
How may I help you?
What 3 words? Glass, keys, rooftop.
Select an entry, please.
Number 1.
The route is being calculated. Please follow the road for 700 meters.
Ford has followed suit. So lots of you guys, if you drive certain Ford models and you have the app, you can use what 3 words in your Ford car. Now, at the moment, we're hearing a lot about voice and cars. We hear a lot about Alexa, for example. I'm a huge fan of Alexa. I use it a lot. And I'm very excited that Alexa is coming to the car, partly because Alexa and what 3 words work very nicely together. You can use what 3 words with your Alexa. But this is in the West, where we're very excited by the idea of voice actually starting to work in our cars. In China, voice is already working in the cars. I went to a car meeting recently in China, and I said, so how many of your cars have got really great voice at the moment? What percentage of the cars? And they were like, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. I'm so sorry, which of the models, how many of the models have got really great voice and you can really rely on it? And the guy was like, all of them, all of the cars. That's a ridiculous question to ask, because in China, they are so far ahead on this. And this is really important because we're saying in the rest of the world, voice is coming. In China, it is here. You walk around, you see people talking to their phones all the time. You see people talking to their devices. And so that's been a place where we've seen a lot of uptake of what 3 words, because voice is used, and therefore people want a better way to input an address with their voice. Now, in China, one of the most interesting car companies out there at the moment is a real leader in the EV space. It's called Weltmeister, or WM. Now, I love them for lots of reasons, one of which is that they actually, at the Shanghai show where they unveiled a car recently, they had a full-on orchestra playing Game of Thrones. So that's my kind of company. But they also are so far ahead in so many ways with their operating system. So they've embraced the fact that what people are doing in their cars is not driving really long distances in the countryside, mostly. Mostly what we're doing is driving quite short distances in increasingly dense urban jungles and often sitting in traffic. So they've gone, we're going to prioritize the OS. We're going to prioritize that user experience and that experience of living in a city and driving a car in the city. So it does all the things you would expect. So it's linked to your home devices. It's linked to Xiaomi at home. It can pre-order your coffee when you're 10 minutes away from work. And sneak preview for you guys, we're going to be announcing some of these things in the next few weeks. But WM is bringing what 3 words in as part of their living engine, which is optimized for voice. They're bringing what 3 words in. And actually, I'm just going to give you a little preview of what that looks like.
北京市人民路1号。
有空点头椰汁。
behind that video was young people. In China, the people buying cars are young. They are much more demanding consumers. They expect much more from their car. We're very used to having incredible smartphones that do a lot, and our expectations of our car is massively increased, and voice is an absolutely critical part of that. So one of the things we're watching is that real uptake of voice and voice technology in China, especially with What 3 Words. So What 3 Words is used in all kinds of ways around the world. Every day, people do all kinds of things. Someone the other day tweeted at us. He'd proposed to his wife at a 3-word address and run a treasure hunt so she could find the spot of that proposal. Nissan actually recently had a sustainable ice cream truck. And if you wanted to go and get, I think it was solar powered and it was responsibly sourced. And if you wanted to know where the ice cream truck was going to be, they would share the 3-word address and you would know you could show up at exactly that spot. Somebody even made a beer. So this company, they made a beer, so Stone Brewing, they made a beer called Fear Movie Lions. Fear Movie Lions is the exact square where that beer was brewed in their factory. And if you go to Berlin right now, here in Germany, you go to Potsdamer Platz, which is the HQ of Deutsche Bahn, you will see on their window the 3-word address. No other context. Just the 3-word address hanging out there on that window. Because What 3 Words is here. No one has ever tried to make a global standard for addresses before. We're here, we're doing it, and it was built for voice, and it means you never have to get lost ever again.